Hello and welcome to Gold and Silver Assets. It's Sunday, the 27th of December 2020. I hope that you've all been enjoying a very relaxing and enjoyable break. I certainly have been enjoying it, and we've had fabulous weather here. Interestingly, a couple of days ago, him indoors told me that I'm a bit too obsessive about the charts. Anyway, initially I was quite defensive about this and denied it. But then yesterday we were out and about in the city of Auckland, and then some things that I noticed actually made me think twice. And you'll see what I mean in today's show. And as I said last week, today we're just going to have the market report, and we're going to have a scenic view of the charts today. Let's start with gold priced in US dollars on the daily scale. And last week we were talking about how we think we're in this short-term uptrend. Overall, remember that in the long to medium term, I'm still very bullish on gold. So I think we're going upwards. But of course, the path we take on the way there won't be straightforward. And the question is, are we going to stay within this channel? And basically what we're looking for is a break of this longer term downward sloping trend line. Now this has been quite a long, slow correction, but I liked it because it wasn't particularly violent, it was a gradual drift downwards here. And I'm wondering whether we're turning a corner. Now it's still early to say that, and really I do want to see a break of this line over here before we can feel more confident of that. So there are a couple of scenarios that could occur here. One is that we stay within this channel and kind of maybe shoot up here, might faff around just below that line before we move upwards there. So that's one possibility. But of course, remember that we're still in that holiday mode. And so it's hard to know what's going to happen because, of course, volumes will be quite light when everyone's relaxing and enjoying themselves. Another possibility, if we do break this channel, I don't see that as a disaster for my scenario. It could still be bullish. So if we did get a break of this though, then there's support at around 1840, 1850, around here really. And then I think the 1800 level would be pretty strong support. So I'd expect a bounce at either of those two levels if we got a break of this channel. But either way, I think that from there, prices would move upwards. Now, when would I start getting worried? I think we can still go within this resistance and support zone over here. I think that's pretty strong, and it's gone back for quite a few years. And there was quite a lot of price action to support that there. I would start getting worried if we get below 1760, and I'd be particularly worried if we start going below around 1720. Then I'd be worried about much lower prices. But look, we'll cross that bridge as we come to it. At the end of the day, we've got to pick a side. I'm picking the bullish side, but remember, we've got to be prepared for any evidence that makes us change our minds. And it's absolutely no problem to change your mind. You mustn't have fixed ideas about these things. You've got to be willing to be flexible. But yeah, I'm still on that bullish side there. So as I said, we've got this kind of stair step formation going upwards within that channel. And as I said, we were out and about, and we were on this area here. This is actually a volcano looking out onto the sea here. And you got this stair step formation. And yeah, that's a bit like the gold price going upwards, I guess. I think that you got an obsession if you start seeing these things in real life. So am I obsessed? Let's look at the next chart. Next chart is silver priced in US dollars on the daily scale. And we have what I think is this triangular shape formation, which would be bullish. And the target for this would be the height of this triangle, which would get us well above $30. We broke out from this triangle over here and price went up, and we anticipated that this roughly $26 line would be some resistance. Now, interestingly, price actually got quite volatile on this day here and actually shot up through there. But of course, remember that this price action here was also going to be an issue in terms of causing some resistance. And that's what happened. I think price just shot up too quickly there and it just got knocked straight back down. Interestingly, closing at that roughly $26 level. And then we got some follow through with that, but there's a little bit of a bounce there. Now, it's not unusual when you get a breakout from a triangle to get a retest of this trend line here. So that is possible. Remember also that I've drawn this upsloping trend line here. So there's a couple of options if we do dip down before going up, which I think we might, because there is some work to do here before we start moving up further. I think we're looking further into the first quarter before we start getting some bigger moves. But until then, we've got a bit more consolidating to do. If we do go down, then this line here could be support, and 24.50 should be support as well, because we've got all this over here. And if that breaks, then I'd be looking at 24. I'm doubtful that it will go below that. If it does, then we'd be thinking of some other pattern. You know, perhaps this isn't a triangle and we're just looking at a sideways kind of channel, in which case, you know, for that to be the case, then we'd be looking at price going to 22. But I just don't see that. I'm thinking again of the more bullish case here. So with this price action, this is a quite long upper wick. And when we were out on our walk, we saw this, and this is called the Sky Tower in Auckland. And this seems to have a long upper wick. So again, I'm starting to see things that correspond to the charts. Am I obsessed? Let's see the next chart. Let's move on to GDX on the daily scale. Now this one's behaving slightly oddly. So initially we thought that this was this downsloping channel, but it broke below that. But since then it's kind of been forming what looks like a flag. So sometimes when you see this kind of action, this could be like an upside down flagpole, in which case we would expect price to drop down. So let's watch. The area to watch here is that this 35 level. If we get a break of 35, I'd expect to drop to around 32 at least. Now, I do expect this 32 level to be quite strong support. Again, this goes back for years if you look on the weekly or monthly charts. So I would expect some kind of bounce or turnaround over there. I'm not expecting a drop below that. Again, remember that I am bullish on gold and silver. So in theory, this shouldn't go down below that. But of course, you know, the markets never do what you want or expect. So, you know, if we do get a break of that, then I'd be more concerned. But what's the lowest this can go? Remember that we've got to think of our downside compared to the upside. If we got down below that, I can't see it going below this low over here, really. But yeah, I'm just not thinking of it going below that, really, to be honest. But let's see what happens. But yeah, this chart has got a funny look to it. You've kind of got this shoulder here, and then it kind of really moved sideways. It hasn't particularly performed quite as well as gold did. So looking at that shape, again, when we were out for that walk, I thought, oh, this looks a bit like the GDX looks, doesn't it? We've got that. And that corresponds to this thing here. Now, I don't think that's actually a head and shoulders on this chart, because then we'd be looking at really low targets. And head and shoulders are funny things, you know, they can be they can still be false, and really you just need a breakout, and sometimes even the breakouts can be false. So it's quite hard to pick those as reversal points. But yeah, I thought they looked pretty similar. Does that mean I'm obsessed? Let's see one more chart. Okay, this is the SILJ on the daily scale. And last week, remember that I was seeing a happy face in this chart. And I was expecting a little dip down to retest this lower curved line before moving up again. And the price, when we do move up, we want to get above 16 at the first hurdle, and then 17 as the next hurdle. And then beyond that, I'd expect quite a strong move if that is indeed the pattern that we're looking at. And remember, the thing with patterns is that we can only tell what they really are in retrospect. We can make guesses as to what they are, but we can't be certain until they've actually finished. So I tried to think of what all the possible alternatives are. Initially, we thought this was a flag, but then it just kind of morphed into what I think is this curve pattern. So what I think could be coming up, probably I'm thinking a retest here, and then a move up, and then maybe something like that. Let's see how that goes. And out on the walk, I saw this pattern here, which again looks pretty similar. So just in that one little walk, I saw multiple chart patterns relating to the precious metals. I think that confirms that I'm obsessed. I admit it. Well, that's it from me. I'm not expecting a lot of price action in the coming week, but who knows? Anyway, we will see you next week for more updates, and I'll be talking about some prophecies for the new year. All the best, and see you next week. Bye.